This is Kendra.
And this is Brianna. Welcome to Camp Comparisons,
where she's in one camp and I'm in the other. So last week we covered the scene at the headmaster's office and then the scene where he went to the apartment. And they talked about going to Montauk, and that was all we got through last week.
Yeah, well, we had a lot to say about Gabe because that was a big change.
And Sally.
And then we had a lot to say about Sally because that made a bigger change.
Yeah.
That really continued through the entire season.
Yes, exactly. So now we're going to move on to the next scene.
Yeah, so just a very quick spoiler warning for everyone. A reminder that we will spoil all of season 1 probably a few times. But we will give spoiler warnings if we start to get into other books. Right. Besides the first book.
Right. Okay, good. So you want to start us on the first scene?
Yep. So they leave the apartment and we go right into a dream that Percy's having. He must have fallen asleep on the drive. So he's dreaming about Cronus for the very first time. Well, the very first time we see, at least.
Yeah. And this is not in the book. Specifically, like in the book, it just goes right into the cabin at Montauk. He doesn't dream on the way. They do have a first dream in the book, but it is not of Cronus. The first dream in the book is of, I think it's an eagle and a horse fighting. Is that right?
Yes.
On the beach?
Yep.
And that's supposed to be a representation of Poseidon and Zeus, or Zeus and Poseidon.
You're the one who just reread this chapter. Do you hear a voice laughing in the distance? Is there a hint of Cronus in that first dream still?
Yeah, and again, you don't even know this has anything to do with anything. You just hear it says a monstrous voice chuckled somewhere beneath the earth,
right,
goading the animals to fight harder. So you get the idea that there's some evil source there.
Yeah.
But that's all you have. It's just the hint, which we later find out is Cronus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I thought so, but I wasn't sure if that was in the first dream, because then he dreams about them fighting a second time.
Yeah, then I think there's actual communication.
And that time, you actually, Cronus pulls Percy into the pit in his dream, not in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And he, and he just talks to him a little bit.
Yeah, well, tell me what you think about this representation of Cronus. So it's this guy, it's a figure, tattered black robes, and like a lantern, right?
Yeah, why? I just don't get it. It seems unnecessary. Now, I know in the book, you don't really see much of him. You mostly just hear a voice. So maybe they wanted something more physical for, a TV show that's visual.
Yeah, because I don't recall. The only sight of anything is in the book where they're on Andromeda, Princess Andromeda, and am I in a different book now?
Spoiler warning. Skip ahead 30 seconds to avoid spoilers about book 4. Yes, there's no Princess Andromeda in this book.
Okay, so we'll do a spoiler for future books, but it's when he's looking into that, I want to say coffin, but there's another name for it.
Sarcophagus?
Yeah. And he's looking into it, he sees something, but I don't even know, even then, is he just seeing Luke?
He definitely sees Luke in the coffin, laying down.
So that he still doesn't see any Cronus.
No.
There's no sight of Cronus.
I can't remember one time that we see a physical representation of Cronus until he takes over Luke's body.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did ask some people on the internet what they thought about the whole Cronus representation, and it was actually a positive thing. So we might be in the minority here. It was the idea
not against it. I'm just confused by it.
Yeah, me too. Because what we know is that he is in pieces, scattered
cut into 1,000 pieces, 1,000,000 pieces, and thrown
scattered under Tartarus.
Yeah, I don't even think the pieces were thrown together. I think the pieces were cut up and then spread across Tartarus to make it harder for him to reform.
Right.
That was always what I remembered.
Yeah, and in the books, it's really just a voice that obviously has some evilness to it, and that's all you get in the book. So if they wanted to show something, I mean, I guess why not? But
wait, but when we hear Cronus talking to Luke later in this very book, I think he is sitting on some kind of throne. I remember him talking to Annabeth about it, and Annabeth being like, "That's weird. Usually Hades is in a different throne." Because this whole time in the book, he keeps on thinking he's dreaming about Hades. But then when he describes the throne that Cronus is sitting on, she's
there was
like,
something that made her.
that's not usually the type of throne Hades has. So I think there is one physical representation of him, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay, well, I'll keep my eye out. I'm going to continue reading as we go
It's
through.
like halfway through the book.
Yeah.
I
so
think.
when it comes up, we'll point it out. But yeah, I didn't really like the tattered. It was
he
almost
looks like the Grim Reaper.
I was going to say that, right? Like, so he's representing death,
but why?
Which is okay, but that's not what Cronus represents.
That's not even his power.
No. So anyways, I think we both decide we're not really for it, but it is what it is.
He's the Titan Lord of Time or whatever.
Personally, a disembodied
Titan
voice.
Of the West? No, East?
Talking, yeah. A disembodied voice talking from somewhere is scary.
In a dark pit.
In a dark pit is scary. We don't need to add
like
the tattered
endless pit,
robes and stuff. Yeah.
I found him way less scary this way. But, you know, I do kind
also
of
his voice.
Not that scary of a voice.
Not at all.
He's supposed to be like, you can feel the deep evilness of him. Now, maybe you can describe that better than hear it, but...
Yeah, well, a couple people online had said something about, well, you know, he's not at his full strength yet, so it's not gonna be the same. But his voice sounded a little weird. Like, is Phoebe a word?
I don't know.
It sounded a little funny.
Yeah.
So
it didn't seem strong and powerful and like an ancient evil.
Yeah. And the thing is, tying together this with Cronus is very important. This is our main evil dude.
Yes.
So
overarching villain, we need that.
Yeah. That's really all we need to say about the dream. I don't think we need to talk about that much more on it.
No. Cronus, weird, but whatever.
Okay. And we go on. So then he wakes up. He's in the car. He's with his mom. She's crying. That's different too. I know it's such a minor point and who really cares, but she is actually so excited about going to Montauk. It says in the book, as we got closer to Montauk, she seemed to grow younger, years of worry and work disappearing from her face. Her eyes turned the color of the sea. So she's like really excited and everything. In the TV series, she's obviously sad. She probably knows that Percy is going to be going away, and that's why she's sad, because she knows at this point she knows more in this TV series than she does in the book, because in the TV series we get the idea that Grover has talked to her and she's then supposed to be telling Percy things and she needed a little bit of time, right?
Right.
The book, it's not that way. The book, she has no clue what's happening, and we'll go over that when Grover comes in. You can tell the conversation's different. So
yeah, she has still been in contact with Grover, but she still is.
She doesn't. Yeah, but she doesn't know that
she still doesn't
happening.
want him to go to camp.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And it's only when like they're in the car or something is happening. Grover's explaining something, and she's like, "It's time for him to go to camp, isn't it?" And Grover's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. So here she's just excited they're going on a vacation. So that's a little bit different. Little different note to start with. So, what do you have in this scene in the cabin?
This is partially about the dream and partially about the cabin. I noticed in this scene in the cabin, Percy seems sad.
Mm-hmm.
When he's washing his face in the mirror, and even when he taps Sally on the shoulder and they have that cute moment, he seems sad, which is definitely different from the book. Like, the sadness is not really Percy in the book. He might be frustrated or confused, but he never seems like sad until his mom dies.
Right.
But even Kronos in the dream says that he's sad. He says like, you're all alone and you're powerless. Like he's saying like, who is this kid who's so weak and
you're weak.
Sad.
Yeah.
He calls him. He even says it. Percy is sad, and I just was. I don't know. I thought maybe it's about the flashbacks we see later and like how hard it's been with Sally and trying to get into schools and feeling like his mom doesn't want him or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why he's sad.
They're also showing that he's sad because now he's been like, I mean, this has been like his longest weirdness going on. I mean, there's a monster that.
So he thinks there's something really wrong with him.
Yeah, and now he's really thinking, okay, I'm broken now.
Yeah.
But now, again, same thing happened in the book.
Yeah, and he
had even a longer period of like, he was frustrated and irritated and stuff.
Yeah.
But when he goes with his mom, they're both just happy. They're happy and they're together, which I kind of missed that we didn't get that. We didn't get that happy mom and Percy scene.
Yeah, not so much.
So
there's that.
But there's a lot more drama in the TV series. Like they're really pulling the heartstrings a little bit. They're showing the intense emotions, and we don't have that in the book so much. So
right. So then what I have to say next is that when Sally starts explaining things to him, she mentions that like this is where I met your dad.
Mhm.
And in the book, Percy
He
already knows that.
Yeah, he's known that from the beginning.
Yeah, he always knew that, and his mom doesn't say much about his dad. She just talks about like how they have the same eyes and how like he was such a great man and that he was lost at sea.
Yeah.
And that's all he really knows. He's never gotten very much of what his dad was like or anything, because she always seems like she's about to cry when she talks about it. But
Yeah,
he
and
does
he
know
doesn't
that
wanna
this is
push
where
it.
they met.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, and he does ask in the cabin scene in the book, it talks about them like arriving and cleaning the cabin and then walking on the beach and feeding blue corn chips to the seagulls and munching on blue jelly beans, and then just that's when he first describes the blue food. Yeah. And then when it was dark, they made a fire. So the fire part is the same.
They was are fire doing inside the cabin. I always got the impression it was on the beach.
It sounds like it's on the beach, but it's not.
Yeah,
very
that
clear.
Cabin is quite nice.
The one in the TV series?
Yes, much nicer than I think the book describes it. Although we do get that hint of like, do you know why we come here every year, Percy? Because it's by the septic tank, so it's cheap.
Cheaper. Yeah.
But when you see the place in his visions, and like when he shows up on Montauk to fight Ares,
mm-hmm.
It looks like the only cabin around. And yeah, it looks a little like not taken care of in the front, but the inside of the cabin is quite nice. And I don't see any other cabins around. Yeah. Maybe I missed them, but
no, it doesn't really show that.
I just think that's silly. So is it like the only cabin by the septic tanks, and there's like a lot of cabins? Because that's what I got from the books, that there's like a whole bunch of cabins, and they always stay in the same one.
I don't think it even says that. I think that's just what you kind of picture in your own memory.
Probably.
Yeah. But that's fine. So they're at the cabin, and in both the book and the TV series, they're at the fire. But in the book, the conversation is just about his dad a little bit, but not too much, because she doesn't want to push his mom. And then she does mention, I believe, that he wanted Poseidon wanted Percy to go to a summer camp, but she's like, I can't talk about it. I couldn't send you to that place. It would mean saying goodbye to you for good. And he's like, it's just a summer camp. And
yeah.
Like, let's not talk about it. So then he never pushes his mom. He's very delicate with her. So
yeah, but he's also confused. He's thinking, how does a dad who apparently never met me before, how would he have wanted me to go to a summer camp?
Yeah,
what a weird request.
Things. Yeah, so there's no explanation.
That was never around.
She's definitely not explaining God and Jesus and demigods and all that stuff to him. That conversation does not happen ever between him and his mom. He just kind of gets thrown into Camp Half-Blood, like, hey, you're a demigod. Like, what? You know?
Yeah, and this whole idea in the books of her preparing him for this to eventually happen, and
in the books or in the TV series?
In the TV series. Did I say books?
Yeah, you said, okay. Yeah, that's okay.
This whole thing that happens in the TV series where he is being prepped by his mom for this life, and also her wanting to instill the right beliefs in him and the right morals, so that when he does get introduced to this side of his family, he doesn't get like brainwashed by their love of glory and like always putting themselves above their peers to get ahead for the glory. I like it. It's not in the books, but I like the fact that she is preparing him. I think it is one of those things that Rick was like, you know what, it kind of would have made more sense for her to like, you know, prep her son, who she is very aware is a half-blood.
Well, it seems like this Sally we know and love would be telling him stories and getting him ready, because we know she knows them, because in the Minotaur scene, right in the book, she tells him exactly, he can't see very well, he doesn't go backwards, whatever.
Is it the name of that chapter, My Mom Teaches Me Bullfighting?
Yeah, I think so. And she's obviously very well versed in this legend of the Minotaur. She can't be only that one, you know what I mean? So you get the idea she understands the Greek mythology. So why has she not taught him? Like, that I don't know. Seems dumb.
It's one of those things that, yeah. Anyways, I've written short stories and stuff, and sometimes when I had like Sean read them, he's like, "So why didn't they just do this?" And it's like, no reason. You just didn't think about it. Yeah. And I think that's how it was with Rick, and that's probably why he rewrote it. He was like, "There's no reason she didn't do that. I just didn't think about it," because he starts the book right before Percy gets to camp, and so he just didn't think about what happened before that.
Yeah.
But now he has thought about it, and that's probably why we get all these flashbacks that we never got, is because he's probably thought more about it. Now, do I agree with everything that happens in the flashbacks? Not all the time.
But we do agree that Percy should have been teaching him all this stuff, and it's not just Mr. Brenner who taught him in the last year of school. So
yeah, Sally.
I like that. What did I say?
You said Percy should have been teaching him.
Yeah, Sally should have been.
Yeah,
and, we're happy with that.
And specifically, not just the teaching him about mythology, but the like teaching him to not, just believe that someone's a monster because they look like one, and just believe, that someone's good because someone tells you they are. Like really being able to observe for yourself what the world is like instead of the way that everyone at camp seems to view it, which is like there's black and white, and all that's important is glory.
Yeah.
Even
we'll see if that actually helps him later, because so far
it helps him already in season 1.
No, it didn't. It taught him to go into Medusa's lair. Hello.
Mom, it taught him to teach Annabeth this new way of thinking, so she saved him when he got stuck on that chair and he was going to die, or whatever. He was going to be stuck in that golden chair forever. He had changed Annabeth's mind about what is truly important enough that she was like, I'm not leaving him until I fix this. And then Hephaestus helps him out.
No, but what's that have to do with not all heroes? Or
I'm just saying the whole thing she teaches him.
Oh, okay.
Not just that one time. I was
specifically talking about the little thing about heroes and monsters. But
oh, okay. Well, that's just one part of it. And yes, maybe that part didn't help him so much. However, the whole thing about having the right morals and caring more about your friends than
of course that helps him.
Yeah, okay.
For sure. Yeah, sorry.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Totally. Yeah, at the fire, there is something where Percy's explaining, like, I'm having a problem, and this is whatever he's saying. But he says something about, like, he feels like kind of like a missing puzzle piece, or a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not the same wording, but he says the same similar type thing about puzzle pieces in an earlier part of the chapter. I think, actually, when he's talking about how Mrs. Dodds was suddenly up on the top of the stairs, maybe. Yep. But he just mentions, so it's a similar analogy with puzzle pieces. So.
Yeah, it must be, I wonder if someone, or even his own son, explained to Rick that that's how ADHD felt to them. To see it both in the book and the TV show makes me think that he was told, like, that analogy, and it made sense to him.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so Sally's telling him all these things that he generally hears later in the book. Yeah. So he gets, like, the stuff about his dad and about being a half-blood. I do, of course, everybody loves the line when she says about, like, I think he said you fell in love with God, like Jesus. And she says, no, not like Jesus. Not God, but a God.
Yeah.
I don't really like her conversation. What is it? I don't really like this whole scene. There's something about it. I'm just like, okay, whatever, fine. But she's like trying to explain that she fell in love with a guy. Like, it's so awkward. This scene is awkward, which is probably why she didn't really do it in the book.
Yeah.
Like, what a weird conversation to have. Like, well, there's this guy. Yeah, he just happens to be the sea god. Like, how do you explain that to your child?
It's hard.
She didn't do a good job in the TV series. So I was like,
well, she didn't have enough time, but it is interesting. I noticed when I rewatched it that Percy does start to believe her, like when she says
half-blood, and he's like, oh, that's what she called me.
But he does seem to start, like, to actually believe it, and then all of a sudden he, like, turns and he's like,
then he's
no,
like, stop telling me stories to make me feel better. I know I'm broken.
Yeah. So she's doing a bad job at explaining it. He's starting to freak out and tell her, like, stop telling me this, stop telling me stories, and that's when we hear the knock at the door.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and in the book, they're actually sleeping, and then there's, like, so much. Oh, he's dreaming about the storm, and he's trying to stop the horse and the eagle from fighting. He just has to get there. He can't get there. Like, it's one of those kind of dreams. You're going as fast as you can. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then he suddenly wakes up. His mom wakes up and says hurricane, which is funny. Did you remember that? I don't remember that at all. She, like, wakes up going hurricane, and the storm's just really bad outside.
Yeah, it got real bad.
But while they're hearing the wind, they all of a sudden hear, he says he hears a distant bellow, an angry, tortured sound that made my hair stand on end. And then all of a sudden there's a voice and someone yelling and pounding on the cabin door. So that's where we get Grover. So we get him, it's kind of the same way, except that they weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another way to speed it up.
Yeah. Grover is, so in the book, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't tell your mom?" to Percy. And
Yeah.
in the
About
TV
the fates.
series,
Specifically, you didn't tell her about the fates. Oh, and dogs.
yeah, well, just about what was happening, like, so she would know that there actually was like an
Serious
urgency.
danger.
Yeah, because she had no clue.
Yeah.
Remember, Grover was originally going to walk him home, although I don't know why he didn't just continue to walk his house. I don't know if he was planning on telling
Maybe
his
he
mom.
got sidetracked by monsters.
Who knows? Yeah. But he was like, "You haven't told your mom." And then she's like, "Percy, what didn't you tell me?"
Right.
But in the TV series, it's the other way around. He's
Yeah.
like, "You haven't told Percy?" And she's like, "I thought I had time." So it's like, it's a funny little difference on how they did that.
Definitely.
I do love Grover in that scene, though, in the TV series.
So good.
Much. That
The important thing is not to panic.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking.
I'm
Good, I'm not panicking either.
He's like, "I'm feeling really good about this right now." As
And
he's
then there's
obviously
Percy's like, Grover. And then this is, I just don't understand why they didn't do it the way in the book, because I just found it so funny when he calls him half a donkey, and then Grover gets offended. He's like, "I'm a goat,
Yes.
not a donkey." But either way, he still asks Grover, "Why is there half a goat in your pants?"
Yeah, is that in the TV series? Is that
Yeah.
what he says? "Why is there a half a goat in your pants?" Yeah.
And then Grover's like, "Oh, you haven't told him about me?" And Sally's like, "You're early."
I like the way they do it in the TV series, because in the book, he doesn't say anything until they get in the car, and then he says,
Yeah, because he notices
"From the waist down,
of...
my best friend is a donkey." That's what he says.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, and then Grover's like, "A goat."
From the waist down, I'm a goat. God.
Yeah. So I do actually really like his, "Why is there half a goat in your pants?"
Yeah.
And then Grover's like, "Oh, you didn't tell him? Okay, you didn't tell him." He's like, it was funny. So that was
this
cute.
scene is great. I mean, the guy who plays Grover, like,
is
10
great.
out of 10. He's so good.
Yeah.
Whether he's exactly as, frightened or whatever as book Grover, he's still 1,000 times more Grover than the crappy movie Grover.
Yeah, for sure. And he is got the best facial expressions. Both him and
so
Walker.
funny.
One little facial expression conveys so much. Really good. I really love it.
And the only one, and Annabeth isn't like that, but I feel like it's more on brand for her character, because she's like so like smart and cunning, kind of. Like,
she's more of a literal person.
She wouldn't show all of her emotions on her face, because that would give her opponent the advantage, right? She's not like an open book. She's way more closed off. So I think it really adds up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's great. So Grover is obviously like, "We need to get out of here. We got to go fast." I think in the book it was like, "They're right behind me," or something like that. "We got to go right now." Either way, in both cases, it's an urgency, like, and they jump in the car and
then in the book, I remember Sally is like, or Percy's like, "Where are we going?" And Sally's like, "That camp that I told you about, that your dad wanted you to go to." And then Percy's like, "But I thought you didn't want me to go there." And then doesn't she say something like, "It's out of my hands," or like, "I don't have a choice anymore," or something?
Yeah. He says, "The place you didn't want me to go," and she says, "Please, dear, this is hard enough. Try to understand. You're in danger."
Okay, yeah.
And then he goes, "Why? Because some old ladies cut yarn?"
Yeah.
And then Grover's like, "Those weren't old ladies. Those were the fates."
Mm-hmm.
And then explains that whole thing. So, and yeah, and that's when he says, like, "They only do that when you're about to, when someone's about to die." And then Percy's like,
"You just said your."
"You just said your." He said, "No, I didn't. I said someone. You meant you. You meant me."
Yeah.
It was funny. They don't have that conversation, but they do have the conversation, like, "I'm your protector," which is also had in the book as well. And he's like, "You're protecting me,"
Yeah, because
they have that conversation.
At least really fast. In the TV series, Percy also says that same thing of like, "Wait, you're my protector?"
Yeah.
And it kind of is like, whatever, just something he says. But in the book, when Percy's like, "Wait, you're my protector," it makes a lot more sense, because Percy talks about how much more Grover was bullied even over him.
Yes.
Like, Grover was targeted even more than Percy was at Yancey, and Percy was always protecting Grover from the bullies, always standing up for him constantly. I mean, even the reason I'm mad at Nancy was because Nancy targeted Grover.
Yeah.
Like, and you do see that in the TV series. That
Yeah,
Grover gets hit by the backpack.
Yeah.
But still, it's less obvious that Grover is really the target for all the bullying because of his, leg muscle deformation or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was also like, he cried easily, like, he stuff like that
a lot. Yeah.
So it's just funny because Percy's like,
Yeah.
you're my protector. Like, I spent all year protecting you.
Yeah, he's like, how's this work?
Yeah.
Well, I just realized now, like, I guess he is Grover's protector in the human world, but Grover's his protector in the monster world.
Definitely. But
Because
even
Percy
in the
doesn't
monster
know.
world, Percy
I
protects him a
know.
lot in the books.
Honestly, he does.
But
We'll see how much Grover carries the weight in the TV series. Because the truth is, he is supposed to be a protector. It is kind of a little bit weird that he doesn't seem very, like in the books, that he doesn't seem like he knows what to do much to protect the other
because
demigods.
Being a protector isn't his dream. Like, that's the thing. He wants to be a searcher, but you can't get your searcher's license until you've like successfully
protected several.
I don't know. There's like certain requirements, and part of the requirements is being a protector and like successfully completing a mission. And he almost successfully completed the mission with Luke, Annabeth, and Thalia, whatever, except for the Thalia
tree.
Yeah, almost died and turned into a tree. So he didn't. That wasn't counted as a successful mission. So now he had to try again. He tried with Percy, and it almost worked. But I guess that
I don't think they
coven
counted
of
it until
elders
he came back from the
quest, because they said like, oh, that's what it was. Oh my god. Okay, so he was like, hey, so can I get my searcher's license now? I brought Percy in safely, and they're like, Percy drug your unconscious body across the border.
And we're gonna get to that, yeah.
Because in the book, he's not just limping; he's from the car crash. He's full unconscious. So he's like, that doesn't really count.
Yes, and we're going to get to the whole part about the fact that Grover is unconscious being dragged into camp, which is not what happens in the TV series.
Yeah, but the point is, they're like, that doesn't count. You still barely did your job. So now they're saying he has to complete a successful quest, hence why he wants to join with Percy on the quest instead of in the TV series where Percy wants him to come because he knows he'll never betray him.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So, yes, that whole thing is much different.
Yeah. Well,
We've
that
gone to a whole tangent about Grover. So let's get back to where we are. We're in the car.
That's kind of it on the car. Well, the car scene goes right into
the Minotaur
being out of the car.
But I actually do have two more things to say about the car scene, because Grover talked about the mist.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked in our first episode, we talked about why Grover had to betray Percy. Or maybe it was our second one. Nope, it was last episode. Okay. In the last episode, we talked about Percy getting betrayed by Grover in the headmaster's office, right? Mm-hmm. So when I rewatched this, I had that in mind. And Grover says in the TV series, in the back of the car, he says that even during the attack, even while Mrs. Dodds was attacking Percy, that the mist was so powerful that him and Chiron only saw some of it.
Yeah.
So Percy's like, you saw what happened with Mrs. Dodds? And he's like, some of it, but the mist hid her even from us. And then he says, that has never happened before.
Right, so it was like
Grover says like it has never in his entire life ever had the mist hide monsters or anything from him.
Yeah.
So again, like the stakes are just so much higher in this than in the book, where we get the impression that the mist often fools even not gods, but it fools demigods and even satyrs sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how powerful the mist is.
Right.
But in the TV series, Grover's like, it has never happened before. So it was probably way scarier and more like, again, we got to get him out right now.
I just realized something. In the TV series, there's like a comment where she says something about boys, and he goes, "I'm actually 24." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She's like, "Boys?" He's like, "I'm actually 24." And I was like, does he say that? He does mention that he's older, but I don't think he does it in that scene in the book, right?
No, and you also don't get a number, but Chiron tells Percy.
Half as slow. Doesn't he like age half as slow as the human?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We see then the Minotaur. We see him in the TV series running behind. Do we see him already in the book, or do you not see him until, I think it's afterwards. So in the book, they actually get hit by lightning. The car gets struck by lightning, and they run into a ditch, and that's how that whole quote unquote crash happens. But in the TV series, she's actually like fighting the car with the Minotaur. Like, remember, it's like horn is through the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And she get like, well, the poor truck that runs into the Minotaur. But that's how they get loose from the Minotaur, is she runs him into a truck. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess, whatever happened, it made the car accident happen.
But they don't see the Minotaur in the book until after the crash.
Yeah.
They hear something, or they know something's following them, but they don't see it until
they hear him a few times. Yeah. But then they get struck by lightning. There's a giant burning hole in the roof of the car. They crawl out through a door or a window or something.
Yeah.
And they're pulling Grover because he's unconscious.
Yeah. Grover is unconscious. They know
He
he's
hit his
alive
head.
because he says food.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, good. He's fine then. If he's thinking about food, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
But he is unconscious. So from this point on in the book until they get to camp, Grover's unconscious.
Yeah.
So that's totally different because in the TV series, he's limping a little bit. Like Percy's kind of helping him out.
He's limping quite a bit,
but he's not unconscious.
But he's not. He's not unconscious.
We do get to see that the Minotaur has his little tidy whities on.
Yeah.
Just like in the card.
Right. And this is when, so even before the car accident happens, so you like there is kind of like a lightning thing, like it looks like the Minotaur kind of just drops out of the sky onto the road.
Yeah.
They look behind them, and then Percy's like, "Is that the Minotaur?" And Grover's like, "Yeah, like he's ruthless. He's coming for us." And Percy's like, "He's still in his underwear," or whatever.
That's right.
And then Grover says, "Yeah, the mythomagic. It was training. Everything has been training for you." For what's coming next, or for what's ahead of you. And then he's like, for what's ahead of me? Like, if that's what's behind me, I don't want to see what's ahead of me.
Yeah.
But he straight up tells Percy that the mythomagic was training.
Yeah, those
which
again,
again,
the cards were just training.
Is going to be interesting when mythomagic comes up later in the series. That's
They'll work
interesting.
They'll weave it together somehow.
But I love it. It's a great training thing.
It's a great training thing.
But it's so funny that they
love to play with cards like that, you know?
It's just so funny that Rick was like, oh, remember this thing that was like a funny gimmick?
Yeah.
Let's like make it a plot line in episode 1.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to me.
Well, also gives Disney Plus some cards to sell.
God, I want this game.
It's gonna come out.
I want to play it so bad.
Yeah.
It looks like
merch,
so much
make
fun.
some money. Disney knows how to make money.
Yeah.
It's Grover in the TV show that says, that's where the property line points out the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, it's his mom who says that.
Yeah, which I don't know.
Again, how does she know that's the proper? Well, Grover's also unconscious, so he couldn't tell her, but
she must just know from, I mean, we know that other gods have taken their pregnant mistresses to camp.
Well, she can't. Yeah, I know we know of one person, but she can't get in, so I'm not really sure how that works. But if
he's like, hey, I want my son to go here.
Let me show you where it is.
Yeah, I mean, he could just probably like open a portal right there. I mean, he's a god.
He's a god.
So,
either that or they just explained to her. I don't know, but she does know where the property line is, and she does know the tree. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the tree, does it matter? I don't know. But the tree in the book talks about a big, like, White House Christmas tree.
That's how big it is, you mean? Like, it's super tall and perfectly shaped. But it is a pine tree.
It is a pine tree. Oh, yeah. Every Christmas tree is a pine tree.
Okay.
Christmas, isn't that pine? I mean, they're all pines?
I guess so.
I don't know.
I feel like we've had juniper trees as Christmas trees in our house before, but maybe that's because that's what was growing around us.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I thought this was different. It says a huge White House Christmas tree sized pine. White House. Oh, maybe that's just explains the size of it.
That's what I got.
Okay, I'm like expecting it to look like that triangular Christmas tree look. That's what I was expecting. So it doesn't look like it's more scraggly in the TV series, but
I still think that I think he is still saying it's pretty triangle shaped as a pine tree. There's lots of different kinds of pine trees. So the ones that they show in the TV series is the more like branches in every direction, thin and long pine needles, with a pretty classic pine tree. But there's also like the bushier ones where the needles are shorter, like the ones that you really see for Christmas trees.
For some reason, I thought it was that tree.
I think so too, but they just use a different one in the TV series.
And does it really matter? I don't know.
What really matters is he's saying it's huge. It's a bit, if it's big enough to be the size of what they use for the White House Christmas. More than the shape, I think he's trying to explain how big it is.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. So I have a disagreement with the way they did something in the TV show here, because in the book, again, he's dragging Grover, and she's like, we need to separate because like the Minotaur's coming towards them. She's like, we got to separate, to confuse it. And he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He's not leaving his mom. Let me just note that 100% not leaving his mother. They're just separating and going in different directions to like draw the Minotaur away. I don't know, like to confuse it, right?
Yeah.
And so like he even says, "You're coming too, Mom. Like you are coming. Don't like basically don't give me crap. You're coming." And so they go together. They separate, run in different directions, and it's like he just says over and over again, "I'm not leaving you. Help me with Grover. We're doing this together."
Yeah.
But and then it's not until the Minotaur runs. No, it's not until the Minotaur actually grabbed his mom and she disappeared that he takes his jacket off and uses that as a red cape, right?
Yeah.
So in the TV series, she says, "Give me your jacket," and she's like, basically she says, "I'm gonna go and distract him," and he takes off with Grover. Percy would never leave his mom with his red cape to distract the Minotaur while he takes Grover. I don't believe that. And I had a problem with that. It was like a really big problem for me. I was like,
But
don't leave your mom. You don't leave your mom.
She's not going to be able to get across the borderline.
He doesn't get that though. You can see that through all this. He does not get that she is not going to be able to get like that. Hasn't settled in the book. Yeah,
I know. But what would have happened? She wouldn't have been able to make it across.
But Percy
would rather
die than leave his mother to that fate.
Yeah.
So that was unreal to me. I felt like there could have been another way to work that out.
I kind of feel like it has to do with Grover being awake, because Grover's helping encourage, like saying that he has to separate from his mom too.
Yeah.
Saying that she can't come. Stuff like that. That might be part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, so the mom's like just saying, "Okay, this is what you're gonna do. He's not gonna be able to see us. You do this, whatever." She's like coaching him. She's coaching him on how to bullfight.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, he like has the Minotaur charging towards him, and he like jumps out of the way at last second, and the Minotaur like storms past, and he's frustrated. And instead of turning back to Percy, he goes towards his mom. That's how it happens. He goes towards his mom, and that's how he grabs his mom by the neck, and the whole thing happens, right?
Right. So Sally's been teaching him that if you wait until the bull is almost at you and move to the side really quickly, the bull can't change directions very fast. It's pretty much like as forward and backwards, not very good at turning in the middle of running.
Yeah.
So
that works with him.
Yeah.
But then when it happens to Sally, she tries to do it and it doesn't work. The bull actually kind of figured it out.
Yeah, he puts his arms out.
Yeah.
So when she dodges to the side, he just grabs her by the neck.
Yeah. So she does try the same thing, and unfortunately it doesn't work. And and then we have the scene where like he's shaking her by the neck, and then like there's like this second where she looks at him and mouths go, and then she dissolves melting into light, a shimmering golden form.
Yeah. So it's like I always imagine that it's like her outline.
Yeah.
Her outline like shimmers with gold light, and then she like disappears into like a bend of light because she gets snatched by Hades.
Yeah, we find out later she's being saved by him at the last minute because he was
like the last second.
About to basically choke her to death.
Yeah.
But she gets out of there in the last second. But yeah, so then it's different because in the TV series, she goes off to like bait the Minotaur. The Minotaur grabs her. That's the same, except for that I think they show it more like the sand, golden sand instead of a golden shimmery light.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I was fine. It's like whatever. But that was all the same. But to me, that tiny little difference that means Percy left her to fight the Minotaur, or Percy was in the middle of fighting the Minotaur and the Minotaur turned on his mom. That difference is so important to me because, again, I love the relationship with Percy and his mom. So I just feel like, oh, no, guys, that's not what Percy would do. Percy would not have left his mom.
It's interesting because he's more gentle with her in the books, but he's also way more stubborn. Like, he's not going to just be okay with...
No, he would have figured it out. He would have
nope.
somehow
I will kill the Minotaur, and then I will go knocking on that big house door and tell Chiron to let you in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he would have figured it out. And if he knew that his mom couldn't make it across that line, he would have gotten at least her as far as they could have gone, pushed Grover across the line and fought the Minotaur. Yeah. Which he did anyways, and he won.
Yep. So he sees his mom turn into dust, and then he picks up his sword pen and he flips the cap off, and the sword
starts rattling again. In the TV series, at that point, it starts rattling again, this sword.
Didn't notice.
Yeah, the pen, I should say.
And I'm sure Grover's not wanting him to do this, but Grover is like laying down, like seems unable to walk without Percy's help at this point. So Percy, goes off and Grover can't stop him, not because he's unconscious this time, but because his leg is in pain. But when he flips the cap off, it just like falls on the ground. Like, how does that? I know the pen always appears back in his pocket, but doesn't he need? Yeah, the cap of the pen falls. But don't you need the cap to put the pen back in sword form? That's what I learned is that you have to,
because remember he figured out he could use the pen as a pen.
Yeah, so if you take off the cap of the pen, it turns into a sword. If you touch the cap of the pen to the tip of the sword, it turns back into a pen.
Oh.
However, in a book,
I forgot
that's
what it was.
Many books away, he takes off the cap, it turns into a sword, and then he touches the cap to the back of the hilt of the sword instead of the point of the sword, and it turns back into a pen that he can then write on. So that happens like
I forgot that's how it worked.
Yeah, so if he just flips the cap off, just
the cap comes back.
The cap just appears in his pocket by itself.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
And then he has to take out the cap and touch the sword.
Oh, that's a really good question, because otherwise he just has his sword. He's like, oh man, I lost the cap. I can't turn it back into a pen.
So I guess the cap returns to his pocket. It must return to
his pocket.
But also when he loses his sword in sword form, it returns to him in pen form.
Yes.
So maybe he doesn't need the cap. He can just throw his sword and then the whole thing will return to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it just made me
something
think.
We don't know.
That's the only reason I brought it up.
That's so funny, yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, so he does have the sword. I forgot. He has the sword in this scene. So when he fights the Minotaur, he has the sword. That's not the way it is in the book, because he had given his sword back he had given the pen back to Mr. Brenner. So he doesn't actually have the sword.
Yeah, he just fights the Minotaur with his bare hands.
Which basically he does in the TV series too, because he loses the sword.
Except for that he chops, when he swings at the Minotaur, he misses the Minotaur's face, but it hits the Minotaur's horn. So then later in the scene when he's riding the Minotaur and he grabs the horn, it already has a nick in it, or maybe even a deep cut in it, which makes more sense, because when you see how big that Minotaur is, you're imagining a 12-year-old boy who probably barely did PE pulling that entire horn off of his head. It does seem unrealistic.
And it is unrealistic, but see, if you read the book, you duplicate that's unrealistic. You duplicate that he's actually like charged up.
Yeah,
with
he uses
almost
his
super
magic
strength.
powers.
Like it's almost like a magical power at that point. So he's like,
that's fair.
Let me see. He gets up on top of the Minotaur, right? He's like riding him on the back, and he's like he calls him the bull man, is like staggering around trying to shake him and everything, right?
Yeah.
Where does it say this? It says, I thought about how he had squeezed the life out of my mother, made her disappear in a flash of light, and rage filled me like high octane fuel.
Mm-hmm. So
I
he's
got
using
both
his god
hands
powers
around one horn, and I pulled backwards with all of my might. The monster tensed, gave a surprised grunt, and then snap.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is, you get the idea that this is not normal 12-year-old powers.
No, I know, but I'm just saying when you see it on screen, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to really suspend your disbelief to believe that he could pull that horn off, especially when you really see how big it is. Like, you're not just imagining it. You're like, oh, his hands can barely fit around this horn. This is huge. So whatever. Anyways, but I'm just glad, even though he had his sword, when I saw him starting to fight the Minotaur with the sword, I was like, oh, come on. Because, like, that moment of him pulling the horn off Minotaur and killing him with his own horn is, like, that's why when he shows up at camp, everyone's, like, in awe. Except for Carice, who's pissed. But that's why everyone's, like, in awe of him, because, like, he just killed a Minotaur with its own horn, with no training, whatever, which is why... They
do it fast in the TV series, though. He, like, pulls it off and then stabs him right in the head. But in the book, the bull man, the Minotaur, like, shakes him off after he pulls the horn off and charges him. And then he says, like, without thinking, I roll to the side and then, like, just shove up. And I guess he, like, gets him right
in the heart,
in the side, right up under his furry rib cage.
Oh,
and then the man,
probably a heart,
the bull man, roars in agony and disintegrates.
So it's interesting. They can get killed by celestial bronze, imperial gold, and apparently their own horn.
I mean, of course. Why not?
I guess they would have to kill each other some way. Like, monsters have to kill each other some way. So I guess their own, whatever they use to kill,
like their claws or their teeth or their horns, are going to also
kill monsters or themselves.
Makes sense.
It does. But I just want to say that Sally teaching him how to bullfight, like the chapter says, makes a lot more sense for how he even manages that battle. It's his godly powers and the little bit of training he got from his mom, because at this point he has no fighting training. However, in the book, as he's fighting, you do hear him talk about how, oh wow, my ADHD is really coming in handy right now, because I can focus on everything that's happening. It's like I'm moving in slow motion a little bit because I'm
Mhm.
so aware of everything, instead of it being a distraction that's stopping me from focusing on, reading this book quietly like I'm supposed to in school. I am now like extra aware of everything going on. I can take all of this information in at once. And you learn that that's why all demigods have ADHD,
Mhm.
is because
Or
they
is it
need it
it's
for battle instinct.
isn't it more communicated not that all demigods have ADHD? Or maybe that is. Is
Yes.
that what it is? It's not that it's not that instead of it being ADHD, it's just
No, it's ADHD, but it's just their brains are the reason. So when you have ADHD, is because your brain is like hardwired differently from people who don't have it, the quote normal way. But it's saying, as a demigod, you're born with your brain, of course, hardwired differently because you're half god.
you're supposed to be
So it's the
fighting
same
and
thing as regular mortal dyslexia, let's say. And
yeah, they explain it in the
dyslexia
books.
comes from the fact that their brain's hardwired to read Greek,
Yeah.
not English. So he can actually read Greek quite well. In the
Right.
books, you learn that he has this ability to read Greek, and that's why he can't read English very well.
Yeah.
So they're both explained,
kinda
and that's
funny.
why all demigods have this stuff.
Yeah. And that really brings us to the end of the episode 1 of the TV series, because basically I think, I mean, in the TV show, he actually continues to stagger down the valley with pulling Grover, who's still moaning about food, towards the farmhouse, crying and calling for his mom. He's very
Yeah.
upset.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I held on to Grover. I wasn't going to let him go because this is all he has right now.
Yeah.
And then he says, the last thing I remember is collapsing on a wooden porch, looking up at a ceiling fan circling above me, moths flying around, a yellow light, and the stern faces of a familiar looking bearded man and a pretty girl, her blonde hair curled like a princess. And that's where you get Annabeth saying, he's the one, he must be. And then Chiron saying, silence, Annabeth. He's still conscious. Bring him inside. Okay,
Right.
so that's
he
a
makes
little
it
different.
all the way to the farmhouse with an unconscious Grover.
Yeah.
Or here, you kind of get the impression that potentially Grover pulls him over the side, over the border, or I don't know. You don't
because
really
he just
see
kind of
that.
blinks. Doesn't he like black out?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe Grover gets him to the other side, even with his hurt leg, and then he's half conscious, and he's not under a porch with lights and moths. He's just probably on the hillside where Thalia's tree is,
And there's tons
and
of
there's
campers
a bunch
around
of campers
him,
around him in Chiron, and then Annabeth
and
says
Annabeth
he's
does
the one.
say he's the one. Yeah.
Chiron says silence Annabeth, and then he says welcome to camp, Percy Jackson.
We've been expecting you.
Yeah, which is a great way to close out episode 1.
Oh, it was great.
But that scene of him laying down and all the campers around him reminds me of... Spoiler warning, skip ahead 45 seconds to avoid spoilers about book 2. When Thalia wakes up and she's not the tree anymore, and she comes conscious, Percy says that like everyone was gathered around a girl, and he comes and he's like, give them space, because he doesn't really... He thought maybe it was a hurt camper or something. He doesn't realize why everyone's being weird, because he never met Thalia, but a lot of the other campers had. And I don't know, for some reason that, like, I always imagined that's exactly what she saw when she woke up, was just like all the campers around her, and then Percy being like, give her space, and being like, oh, hi, I'm Percy Jackson, and like everyone else being like, the reason why they're quiet and doing nothing about this unconscious girl on the ground is because they're all like, oh my god, it's Thalia. Yeah. And Percy's like, oh, I'm here to help this hurt camper. Yeah. And it just reminded me of that.
That's cool. Okay, good. So yeah, that wraps up. I mean, that gets us basically through chapter 4, 100% through chapter 4 of the book. And that was episode 1 of the TV series. So interesting that episode 1 only does 1 through 4. This is going to be a big jump, because on episode 2 is going to be we're going to miss a whole bunch of camp stuff, because we're going right into the quest on episode 2. So we're going to be missing chapters. For a bit.
He sleeps in the cabin. He wakes up. He meets Luke.
Wait, we don't go on the quest until episode 3.
Yeah. So there's one camp episode, but in the book, you get the impression that he's at camp for quite a bit. He's getting settled.
I haven't looked yet to see how many chapters episode 2 of the TV show covers, or episode 3. But I feel like it's going to be a lot more than just 4 chapters. That's what I think. So we'll see when we get there.
We will see.
But since we're done with episode 1 of the TV show, I would like to ask you, what was your favorite and what was your least favorite part of that episode?
Oh, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Okay. Oh, I don't know. I want to say, weirdly enough, that my favorite scene is when Grover arrives in the cabin. I just really like that scene, and even in the car. I like Grover and Percy talking about what's been going on. I like Percy's reaction when he asks his mom, like, "What else haven't you told me?"
Right.
And I like that Grover keeps on being like, "You haven't told him this," and she's like, "For the last time, you came early."
Yeah.
Like that
You
whole
were
thing.
early. Yeah.
Like you get a great side of Grover. You get Percy being snarky and angry and kind of just whatever. I like his reaction to everything.
Cool.
So that might be my favorite. My least favorite. Oh, I know. I know exactly what my least favorite is. This is such a TV and movie trope that makes me so angry every time. And it's when like there is immediate danger that is on a time limit. Like you have this much time until something terrible is gonna happen, and you're well aware of it, and you're like, let's have a long talk about our feelings. Like, I'm like, shut up and run, you idiots. Like maybe Sally would have been fine if you guys had just shut up and run. They have such a long conversation about like,
Which
I love you,
conversation?
hold fast.
Oh,
and like making Grover.
We jumped right over that whole conversation. Oh my gosh, where she's like, I'm entrusting you to protect my son,
I was
Percy.
like, shut up.
Yeah, why are we having this conversation?
Everyone needs to shut up. Like the first few seconds of it, like the first little bit of it, I was like, okay, yeah. But then I just kept, every time I thought, okay, go. I'm like, there's more. How do they have more to say? Like, I get that they think they're separating like for a long, whatever, but
no, but they could have just run.
I did not feel the emotion of the scene the whole time. I was just like, shut up and run. You guys know there's a Minotaur coming. We're aware of what's happening.
I forgot about that part.
Drives me crazy. So that's my least favorite part.
That actually reminds me quickly, and then I'll do my favorite and least favorite. It's raining in the scene with the Minotaur. It's also raining a few other times in this movie, in this scene, or in this, episode. And there was a interview done with Walker about the fact that he was wet through the whole episode 1, or through pretty much almost the whole season.
Yeah,
he was just
constantly wet.
He was like, yeah, I got completely used to just being wet. But they did ask about why, kind of a little bit about like why it was that Percy would get wet when he would go into the river and different things like that, because he's supposed to not be wet when he like jumps into the river and stuff. Although honestly, that must be only happening when he realizes he has powers, because through his whole life he had to have swum and been wet. You know what I mean? But still, they said there's no way you can do that in a TV show. Like, how are they going to keep him dry when it's raining and everybody else is wet? Like, it would have just not worked out.
Well, he's not supposed to stay dry from the water. And he's also not supposed to stay dry from, like, doesn't he say at some point he gets, like, dog spit? Oh, yeah. When he has a pet hellhound, Mrs. O'Leary, and she would, like, lick him with her giant tongue. He'd be like soaking wet, and he's like, yeah, apparently my dad's powers doesn't cover dog spit.
Well, he does. He's able to be dry, just will himself dry. And that's part of his powers. But they're not, what I understand is that's not going to be a thing in the TV series, because it just doesn't work out. Like, you have rain falling, he is physically going to be wet. What are they going to do? Keep drying him over and over again?
But I have to say, the scene in the book where he's at the bottom of a dirty lake or whatever, or river, and I don't even know if it's in this book. And he picks up an old dirty like
rag or something.
No, it's a hamburger wrapper, and then picks up an old lighter, and he lights a fire at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
or
at the river. Yeah, it's a St. Louis.
I wish I could see that in film, because like that's so cool. I get it would be probably really hard to do.
Well, we obviously didn't see it, so no, they don't do that. But I just thought it was kind of funny that he had to be wet so much when Percy is supposed to not be able to not be wet, and poor Walker was just wet all the time.
Yeah. Okay. And then put like gel in his hair to keep him looking wet for like times when he was outside of the water for a while, and like doing the same scene for a while. They'd like put gel in his hair to keep him looking wet. So funny. Yes. He said he didn't mind though.
He didn't mind. So my favorite scene, actually, I'm going to agree with you, which is maybe boring, but I actually really do love the Grover coming in saying, I'm not panicking. I'm actually feeling really good at the moment. Like, I really love that scene. And then including with that, when Percy says you have a half a goat in your pants. So that whole section right there. My least favorite, I have a few, but the one that, oh man, The thing is that the one I feel the most passionate about, and that makes it my least favorite, is when Grover is turning in Percy, like saying that he did it. Like I have so many feelings about how that really does change a relationship, even though they're not going to let it change the relationship because they're writing the script.
You feel like really Percy won't understand now after monster attacks and almost dying and seeing his mom die, that he didn't understand that he was in immediate danger and Grover was only doing his job.
I do think Percy understood, but I still think that little bit that was just not necessary and good for the relationship. So I have a thing
like
about
it showed that he was. I feel like it shows that Grover is his protector because he jeopardized his friendship with him, because even though he loves Percy like a brother and that like they're best friends, he was putting his job first, and his job was protecting Percy. So in that regard, I'm not mad at it.
Well, but it's my least favorite. So
that's just me.
Okay, good. Well, that wraps it up.
Okay, good.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram at Camp Comparisons for fun stuff we might do there and giving us your opinions on episode 2. And if you have longer thoughts or complaints, or you want to mention how much you like our new microphones we got, you can email us at campcomparisons@gmail.com.
Yeah, and don't forget to tell your Percy Jackson friends about us.
And if you feel like you don't have Percy Jackson friends to tell, then you need to make more friends. And hopefully one of them will be a Percy Jackson fan.
Exactly. All right, until next time.
See you at camp.
Bye.